All right, let's do another couple examples. So remember, in this first example, this actually is not the nice way of writing things for you. It's going to be easier when you move to the summation notation. But here we can see what the sequence is that we're adding together, and it's called a sequence when you can recognize the pattern in the numbers. It's called a series when you're adding those numbers together. All right, so remember, our goal is to figure out our rectangle where the width is 1/2 of the total number of numbers, and the height is going to be the first plus the last. So we can see the height pretty easily from here because we know that our first term is 8 and our last term is 403. So we can find that very, very quickly. $411. The width is going to take a little more to figure out. And the way that I prefer to do it again is to find the distance between these numbers. And again, the distance is always final minus initial. So we're going to take 403 minus 8. $395. And we need to understand what that pattern is, because now we need to divide it up to see how many numbers there are. We need to remember, we need to know how many changes we went through. So in our first change here, we added 5. And then in our second change, we added 5. And we can see that that's going to be our pattern, to keep adding 5 over and over and over again. If you take the number we found and divide it by the width of one change, then you're going to find out how many changes we went through. And I'm going to cheat and use Excel to do my calculations again. Not really cheating, because you know how often I let you use calculators. Alright, so I'm going to take 395 and divide it by 5, and I get 79. And remember, that's how many changes we went through. That's not how many numbers there are that we're adding together, because it ignores our first number. And it counts this as the first change, second change. So what we have here is we actually have 80 times that we added 5 together to get to 403. And our width is going to be half of that number, so our width is going to be 40. Now, if we come up here and we want to go ahead and find the area of a rectangle, remember, is just width times height. So we're going to take 411 times 40, and we get 16,440, which that is so much faster than sitting there and adding all these numbers together. Now, saying that, let's go ahead and add all these numbers together, but let's use our good friend Excel. So I put my first number down, and then I say plus equals, click on that number, and then plus your 5, and then drag it down, and I'm predicting that on the 80th number, we will have the number 403. And there we go. You can see the 80th number is 403. And now if I'm going to want to add them up, I just say equals sum. Highlight all my numbers, close parentheses. And there I get, again, 16,440. All right, let's go ahead and do the other video as well with this. Let me erase what I've got here. Kind of sloppy, but it'll work. And let's remind you of what the summation notation means. The summation notation, remember, it's actually pretty handy. because it allows you to find your first and last terms, and it already tells you how many terms we can expect that we're going to use. So here, our first term, remember, they use J here instead of I. They'll use the letters that are somewhere near the letter I. Mathematically, that's the way the notation will work. So it's going to be here when J equals 1. So you're going to plug that into our equation. And we get negative 4 plus 7, which is going to be 3. And for our last number, we're using J equals 83. And so we plug in that 83 here. And we're going to pull up Excel, let it do the math as a calculator for us. Equals negative 4 times 83 plus 7. And you know what, just to be on the safe side, I'm pretty sure it is following PEMDAS, but I'm going to put parentheses around this portion to be sure. Okay, yep. All right, so negative 325. So I know that if I take my first plus my last, I'm going to get the height. And even though this is a negative number, it still will work out, which made a mistake in making that a positive. Oh no, wait, sorry, I was thinking distance again. All right, so take our first plus our last number and add those together, and that will give us the height of our problem. Oh wait, I did want a negative because it was a negative number there. All right, so we get negative 322. And for our width, there are 83 numbers, so we're going to take half of 83. And we're going to multiply those together. Negative 322 times 1/2 times 83. And this is predicting for us that our sum of these numbers will be equal to negative 13,363. And if you want to check this, go through and find one or two numbers. So I'm just going to find the next number. Negative 8 plus 7 is negative 1. And somewhere here, and make sure you're in the first row. That'll make it a lot easier for you if you're in the first row. Type in your first number. To go from 3 to negative 1, it's going to be adding a negative 4 or subtracting 4. So equals my first number minus 4. And I'm going to take this down to the 83rd row. Oops, went way too far. $83 right there. And if I hit equals sum and highlight all those numbers, check it out, we get the same number again. Okay, so for your homework, I want you to practice these. If you have not logged into ALEKS yet, it will make you do an initial knowledge check. You do need to do that before you can do anything else. So be aware. Hopefully you've already done that before you've seen this video. But you will need to do that, and then you'll be able to get into the homework. I'm just going to assign a few of these questions for you for this homework. If you have any questions, like always, let me know.